Okay, so thank you so much for joining in. There'll be people who will keep on joining as we start. The movie today, which we're going to talk about, is The Late Night. But before I talk about it, for people who don't know me, my name is Jimmy Jain. I'm the founder of Squared SQL Consulting, and the whole idea why we do management through movie session is we pick up a movie which can inspire us, which can help us, which can make us reflect on how we live our lives, or so to say, how can we learn what we do on an everyday basis from movies, apart from enjoying them. And the recording of this session would be made available on the YouTube channel by the name Jimmy Jain. So do subscribe it. You can always share it with the people who you think may get benefited from this. So let's move forward and let me start sharing my screen. Here you go. Okay. So a quick check. If one of you could just confirm if you can see the slide. I'll wait for.
Yes, Jimmy, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you. So, another disclaimer here. We do not recommend, or as in we are not saying that you should go and watch this movie. The only idea what we do is we pick up a movie and we talk about it, right? Whether you want to watch a movie or not is absolutely up to you. And right now it is being aired at Netflix, right? So typically, what is the movie all about? Now, if I may get into the movie, it's actually a late night comedy drama, which stars Emma Thompson as Kathleen Murphy, was a very, very popular TV host, and she's running successfully for the last 27 years for that particular show. And the story takes a turn when she hires a new writer to ensure that she's not getting replaced. And actually, for her performance, Emma Thompson was she received a nomination at the 77th Golden Globe Actress for the Best Actress, Motion Picture, Comedy, or Musical. So, speaks something. Now, just to give you a little bit of storyline before we get into what can we reflect. Typically, the story is interesting. It engages you. Kathleen Newberry is an acclaimed host with an extensive career in comedy. However, over a period of time, what has happened is the rating is declining, and nobody is daring to tell that to her, even though she hears from different quarters, but she probably is also not acknowledging it. Now, she was told by the channel that they will need to replace her, and that was probably a wake-up call. And at that point of time, she was figuring out, how do we change things? How do we make things better? And as the movie says, that all the writers in her team were all male, and that too all white. So she actually hired a female, typically a diversity hire by the name Molly Patel. And she starts to work, and she has no experience in television. She comes from quality control function in a chemical plant. Now, as things were going by, there was an email which got leaked that there was an affair of Catherine with one of her writers. And that actually, opens up a very different, thing in the story at all. And in this entire drama, Molly gets fired as she criticized her response to the news. And eventually, Catherine comes back to her and says, "This, I need you. I would want you for who you are." Now, this is interesting because at the end of the movie, they share that how at the end of 1 year, or after they had a conversation between Molly Patel and Catherine, that the diversity actually is there in the team. And while there are many ways to look at the learnings from the movie, the one style which we do here in this session is we pick up few dialogues which are there in the movie, and there are plenty of them in this movie. And then we reconnect the dots with that. And as we move forward, my recommendation is feel free to share your thoughts, maybe via chat, or maybe you can unmute and can talk as well. And typically, the movie talks about how Emma Thompson, as the most famous stand-up, she's doing in the late night. She's talking to her husband, and this is a comment, which she makes, talking to him, that I do not have strength to organize your funeral. Now, he's suffering from Parkinson's disease. And the way I look at this entire conversation is, I mean, it was so playful. It was so jolly. I sometimes wonder how many of us have that kind of a relationship wherein we can actually say what we feel like saying. Right. So this was very interesting. I don't have the strength to organizing your funeral. And it was taken in an absolutely playful spirit by the husband as well. Right. While I understand that there is a lot of humor or sarcastic humor in Britain, but having said that, this is something which we can take away. How do we add openness and I would say jolly, being jolly in our relationships, so that we can share what we feel like sharing. Second is, you might have seen in the trailer as well, there is this person asking for a raise, and he eventually is fired. And as he's walking out, he says, well, I never said this, but let me tell you, everybody's here for a paycheck. That set me thinking, I mean, why we do what we do? Are we do something and everything for our paycheck, or there's a higher purpose for it? Because if everything is, in my opinion, if everything is being done just for a paycheck, then probably I'm attaching my happiness, I'm attaching my purpose to something which is external to me, right? And I would urge you to ask yourself, why do you do what you do? I mean, what do you work for? Is well, paycheck could be a motivator, but it cannot be everything. Yeah. So this was something which triggered that thought in me, and I thought I'll just put up here. And this is a very interesting comment, a dialogue. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams. How many of us dream? And when we dream, how many of us actually pursue them? I have seen, and from my experience, I can tell you in life, do dream. And if you hold on to your dreams have a funny way to come true. Let me repeat this. Do dream. And if you hold on to your dreams have a funny way to come true. Yep. And typically, if you see, we don't define our dreams. It might be there in our head, but my recommendation is, can we write what your dream is? Because the moment we start writing it, we actually become very clear. And as we are clear, the dream probably is accelerated. It's like this: when we go to a restaurant, we're very clear what we want to order. But unfortunately, in life, we are not very clear. That's the irony, right? So do dream. Well, the next one is, they want to replace you, but they cannot if everyone loves you. I think this can be looked at in so many different ways when you look at organizations. Everyone here, I would say, is my customer, my user. If they love you, if they like what you deliver, if they have a product, or if you have a product or a service they would want, you will never get replaced. However, if they do not love you, well, they'll probably take a millisecond to replace you, right? So one to ask is that, how do I ensure that my users, my customers, my stakeholders love me, they want me? Now, this is very interesting. There's actually another comment which I've not put it up on the slide, which says that the Kathleen Murphy's husband, who tells Molly Patel that when you're working with Catherine, even though she may not like you, but ensures that she needs you. That's quite a thing. Because if you see here, they want to replace you, but they cannot if everyone loves you. Ask yourself, how do you ensure that you are that go-to person? Are you there when people need you? Are you there when the customer needs you? Are you there when generally in an organization, when you work with your teams, are you there as a go-to person? Right? So that's something which was, which did catch my attention. Okay, so there's this scene wherein Tom, the monologue writer, is talking to somebody over the phone and said, you know what, there's this lady who has got hired because, she's a person of a color, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't realize that Molly actually hears him. And at that point of time, she said, I'd rather be a diversity hire than a nepotism hire. Because Tom wanted his brother for that job. And he almost thought that he's going to get it. Now, when you look at this comment, I would rather be a diversity hire. It does not guarantee. I cannot say, okay, fine, I won't have a diversity hire and I can just pick up anybody. Well, in a diversity hire also, I'll have to do my due diligence. I have to still look at what is the job fit. And this is what Molly Patel also mentions, that I actually got selected because of the capability, and I'd rather be a diversity hire than just being related to somebody, right? Wherein I don't have to, prove my worth because I'm just born. Right? So that was another thing which I thought I'll share with you. This room is a ship. In fact, the complete dialogue is, this room is a ship, and this was actually said by Catherine, wherein she's having a meeting with all the writers, and Molly Patel is absolutely new, and she makes a comment, and that's where she says that this room is my ship, and you have barely earned the right to be an oar. But this dialogue, if you see, this room is a ship. You're the master. This is your life. You're the captain. Where are you maneuvering your ship? Is it going in the direction you want it to go? Do you know in which direction is it headed to? Right? Who could be some of the oars for your ship? Or if there is a okay, no problem. These things do happen. Let me exercise some rights as a host with my participants. I'm going to mute everybody. You can unmute yourself whenever you wish to talk. Yes. So, in terms of, as I was saying, who is maneuvering that ship as a captain? Is it going in the direction you want it to go? Have you decided that direction? Because if you have not, then it can go anywhere. Right? So how do you take charge of your ship? How do you take charge of your life? Right? How do you ensure that you're actually living a life which you wish to live? Yep. And then another interesting comment which was made by the protagonist is, I have not changed, audience has. And if you and I start writing down the brands who were market leaders at one point of time, are nowhere there today, because they did not change. They did not, give what the people were looking for, what the customers were looking for. So are you in touch? Do you know the pulse of people whom we are servicing? Well, these are some small things, certain things which all of us are aware of, but I believe when it comes, like a movie dialogue, it further helps us to reflect. What can you do to stay relevant? What could you do? How could you rediscover yourself? How could you realign? Especially in the pandemic times, I'm sure a lot of us have actually done a lot of rejig of who we are. So in that process, what is it that you would like to do differently? Yeah. So that's another thing which I thought I'll share with you. Be careful of sharing who you are, because once you switch it on, you cannot switch it off. And there is this mention when Catherine wanted to speak about certain certain sensitive issues. At that point of time, one of our team members said that, look, be careful, because once you say it, you cannot switch it off. Now here, the question comes in, authenticity. I mean, are you authentic, or are you just doing apple polishing? What are you known for? It does not mean that you are being abrasive. It doesn't mean that you are being absolutely upfront. Yes, you could be, However, you need to ask yourself, are you authentic? Are you who you are inside as well as outside? Is there a congruence in what you feel and what you do? Is there a congruence in what you say and what you do? Because that's something which can actually make you, or which make others believe in you. When you express yourself, when you're not afraid of telling who you are. And that's where I would say that, be who you are. People who will like you will certainly like you for who you are. The another factor which probably also comes in here is the question of external validation. There are a lot of us, and I must confess, I'm also guilty of that to an extent, wherein we all look for that external validation. Whatever I'm doing, do people like it? Whatever I'm doing, do they praise it? But over a period of time, I realized that, well, do what you're supposed to do, right? And you will realize that if you're doing what you're supposed to do, it will eventually reach the objective you wish to achieve, right? So ask yourself, are you showing off who you are? Because once you show it off, you cannot switch it off. The next point which I want to bring about from here is, you are not doing it for them, you're doing it for yourself. Okay. I mean, why do you get up in the morning and go to work? And when I say that, I'm also talking about what gives you a kick and you want to do more of, or maybe what is it that which makes you in a flow, right? And as I said in the previous slide, is it about that external validation, or is it about that internal peace? Is it that satisfaction what you're getting? And typically I talk about an employer-employee engagement, or an association, or a relationship, whatever nomenclature you may want to use here. So if you think of any organization, right, and if you think of any employee, what are the expectations both sides have? An organization always expects contribution, right? The umbrella is contribution, then there are functions. As somebody who's working in an organization, what do I look for? Well, money is always a byproduct. I always look for satisfaction. And you will realize the apex where the contribution is highest and the satisfaction is highest is the most elusive spot the world over. Sometimes you will see satisfaction is very, very high, but there is no contribution. And on the other hand, sometimes the contribution is very, very high, but there is no satisfaction. So how do you ensure that the satisfaction is highest and the contribution is highest? And that's where you will realize you're not working because you're enjoying what you're doing. Yeah. Now, this was the comment which was made by Catherine to Molly Patel, and she said that if you want people to see you other than a diversity hire, you must make them see it, which means you do something, make your presence felt, show them your worth. And one of the easiest ways I have seen to show your worth is deliver what you're supposed to, right? Because if you have been doing what others have been doing, you're also getting the same results which other was getting. So if you really want to stand out, you need to probably start doing something different from what was being happening so far. And that's where people probably will take cognizance of you. I think, especially in the pandemic times, one of the things probably which I have seen in the last 2 years or so, which has helped me to reach out to more and more people, is maybe to show compassion, to show empathy, right? And provide that psychological safety to your teams, to your stakeholders, yeah, and maybe to people at large. And you will realize that that small step can probably help people come together, probably, and then the functional part comes into play. But more than that skill part, it's the behavior, or it's the way you are coming across matters. This show is the reason I get up in the morning. Entertaining you is a joy of my life. Now, this was said by Catherine, and this was said by when she was told that she's going to get replaced, and there is this new stand-up comedian who is probably his jokes are not very well liked. In fact, there is a dialogue in the movie wherein Catherine looks at him as an the show, what he was doing, and say, oh my God, what a wanker. So she, at that point of time, she had two choices. Either she would gracefully hand over the show to the person whom the network has chosen that he's going to replace her, and it would have been a graceful exit. The second is to stand up for who you are, because this show belongs to you. You have been running this show for the last 27 years. So the team was also divided, and there's a specific reason, there's a specific conversation between Tom and Molly about Tom is saying it's fine, let our boss, which is Catherine, make a graceful exit. And Molly says, well, no, she should stand up for what she believes in. And that's where Catherine says, you know what, this is the show. This is the reason I get up in the morning, for this show. And entertaining you is a joy of my life. And when I was listening to this, I could correlate it to what I always tell people, that building capability is or maybe coaching people or telling people what they can do better than what they're doing probably is my gift, which I keep on sharing with others. So ask yourself, why do you get up in the morning and go to work? Right? What brings joy to your life? Right? And then this is my last slide about the lessons. I hope I have won the privilege of your time. And this has been used multiple times in the movie. And I so like it that it gave me an insight that when people spend time with you, they are giving you that privilege. For example, just to give you an idea of how do I look at it, this link. So we have the group in which the management of movies is there. It's full, 250 people, right? However, we have 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have logged in today and spending time on this. Now, when I look at it, I see the privilege that you are giving me, that you are investing your time, energy, and effort in me. And that's what keeps me going. And I would say, as I close this, I hope I have earned the privilege of your time. Yeah. And this is where I'll probably stop sharing my screen. And if, like me, ask if there is any comment, any question, any reflection. You probably have seen the movie, you might have. In case you want to share your perspective, I'll be more than glad. So we have a couple of people here. Would anybody like to share anything? Okay, I think I'm going to stop recording here. And this recording will be made visible. Thank you so much for joining today. And this will be made visible on my YouTube channel by the name Jimmy Jain.